Brown skin girl, skin just like pearl. Best thing in the world. Never change for anybody else than brown skin girl. Skin just like pearl. It's the best thing in the world. I never trade you for anybody else singing.
She says she really grew up poor like me. Don't believe in nothing but the Almighty. Just a little jeans and a pure whitey. She never dreamed forever be nobody wifey. Yeah. She well, I mean, a pretty but your heart is a miss. Play you like a villain cause she caught in a way. Tonight I am walking away. 9 to 5 mine and a grind, yeah. Tonight I might fall in love, depending on how you hold me. I'm glad that I'm calming down. Can't let no one come control me. Keep dancing and call it love. She fights it by falling slowly. If ever you are in doubt, remember what mama told me. Brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. Your back against the world. I never trade you for anybody else. A brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. The best thing in the world. I never trade you for anybody else.
Pose like a trophy when Naomi's walking. She need an Oscar for that pretty dark skin. Pretty like Lupita when the camera's closing. Grip broke the levee when my killer's rolling. I think tonight she might braid her braids. Melanin too dark to throw her shade. She minds her business and winds her waist. Go like 24K. Okay.
Tonight I might fall in love, depending on how you hold me. I'm glad that I'm calming down. Can't let no one come control me. Keep dancing and call it love. She fighting but falling slowly. If ever you are in doubt, remember what mama told me. Brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. Your back against the world. I never tried you for anybody else. A brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. The best thing in the world. I never tried you for anybody else.
Oh, have you looked in the mirror lately? Wish you could trade eyes with me. There's complexities in complexion, but your skin is glow like diamonds. Dig me like the earth, you be giving back to everything alive, baby, know your worth. I love everything about you, from your nappy curls to every single curve, your body natural. Same skin that was broken, me the same skin taking over. Most things out of focus view, but when you're in the room, they notice you. Cause you're beautiful. Yeah, you're beautiful. Them gon' fall in love with you in all of your glory. Your skin is not only dark, it shines and it tells your story. Keep dancing, they can't control you. They watch and they all adore you. If ever you are in doubt, remember what mama told you.
Brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. Your back against the wall. I never trade you for anybody else. Hey, brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. The best thing in the world. I never trade you for anybody else. Hey.
Skin just like pearls. Best thing in the world. I never trade you for anybody else singing.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi, beautiful Black families.
Right?
So happy to be here. Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Jubilee Day.
Let's celebrate today. My name is Angela Peoples. Kiera, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, and I'm Kiera Pasante Houghton.
And we are two of the co-organizers of the Black Mamas March in DC. Our other co-organizer, Aisha Alexander Young, isn't able to join us today, but we are sending her lots and lots of love here and appreciation for her leadership. Aisha actually organized Black Mamas March in Charlotte last week,
Yeah.
which was beautiful. And we're hoping we were hoping to do something similar in DC this weekend. However, the forecast was looking pretty ugly. And so it's still looking pretty ugly.
Yeah,
And
it is
so
this afternoon.
we thought it would be best to move our gathering virtually to continue to keep our babies and our families and ourselves safe and healthy. But we did still want to get together and create an opportunity to gather, to celebrate, and to be in community as Black mamas, as Black parents, as folks who are trying to who recognize that this is a historic moment. This is an opportunity that we need to really level up and step up our engagement in what it means to fight for our children, fight for our Black lives, and fight for those that are to come. And so today's conversation today's event is going to be a combination of us talking and sharing, us moving and celebrating and learning with each other. We have a really, really awesome program for you today. We have Sinu from Black Mamas Yoga, who is going to through a sensing exercise and really help us move our bodies and get into this space. And then we're going to have a conversation with myself, Lena K. Gardner, and Kiera, just about being mothers moving into this movement. I'll tell you all a little bit more about Lena in just a moment, but she's fantastic, and I know y'all are going to really enjoy hearing from her. And then we're going to hear from Key, who runs the Woke Kindergarten Instagram account, and has really, really awesome ways of talking to young people, talking to kids, talking to children about, this moment, about protesting, about making your voice heard, about the importance of fighting for justice. And so we're going to lift that up today as well. We'll have another conversation with a few more of my really our favorite movement moms. And then we're going to talk a little bit about opportunities to continue to stay connected with us and connected with this movement that is growing and emerging. And I just also wanted to remind you all that this is a family-friendly event. We want your kids to come. We want y'all to be there. We're going to play some music. We're going to have some dancing. We're going to move around. It won't quite be the same as if we were in person, but don't worry, we'll get there soon. But please, bring your kids. The conversation, particularly with Key and Woke Kindergarten, is going to be really useful for them. So encourage you. If you're looking for something to do on the lead up to nap time, or just take your kids into today, take your kids into this Jubilee Day, and help remind them of this moment. This is a good opportunity to bring them to sit down with you in front of your laptop or your phone. Kiera, did I miss anything, or should we start off with Mama Yoga?
No, let's go ahead and get into some movement. Let's go ahead and bring in Sinu from Black Mama Yoga to, get us together.
Yes.
Ooh, yes.
Hello. Take it away.
Take it away.
Yes, good morning, and thank you for having me. My name is Sinu, and this is my daughter. This is Yazi, and we are so grateful to be a part of this movement, a part of this event, celebrating Juneteenth, celebrating our Blackness and agency over our bodies. We're celebrating mothers from the past. We're celebrating mothers in the present, and we are honoring the mothers that we are raising, right? So we're just gonna do some gentle seated yoga. We've decided to do some partner yoga, and we are also going to just kind of do some affirmations, right? So that we can wheel in this amazing celebration of self and each other, right? So we're using one mat. So you can use one mat, you can use two mats if you'd like. We're gonna go ahead and start by getting back to back. We'll find a nice tall spine, right? Just move back forward a little bit more for you guys. Thanks. And we're just gonna start to connect to our breath, right? Because the breath is the most important part of our practice and everything that we do. It's through our breath that we're able to find freedom within our bodies. So start with a deep breath in. And the breath out through the mouth, releasing any stale air, tension. Again, deep inhales. Complete exhales. And I want you to stay with the breath, maybe even counting down to 4, 3, 2, 1. And then exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. And as you continue to tap into your breath, see if you can synchronize your breath with your partner, right? Just feeling them, feeling their rhythm, creating synchronicity. Deep breaths in. Breath out. And as you breathe, feel your nervous system slow down, feel your heart slow down, feel your mind slow down. And welcome yourself into this space, onto your mat, into your body. Just navigating the breath like a wave. Then setting an intention for yourself or dedicating your practice to something or someone. Breathe. Then Yazi and I are going to take some gentle movement by inhaling, reach. Keep our arms high, big stretch. And we're going to take a twist. So I'm on her left knee. She's going to place her right hand on my left knee. We're going to take a gentle twist. And I'm inhaling to lengthen my spine, exhaling to press against her knee and twist deeper. Starting to awaken the spine, maybe starting to detoxify our bodies. Find another deep breath in. Breath out. Reset the spine, big stretch. Exhale, twist. Breathe. You like to press against the knees, so even deeper. Take one more deep breath in. Breath out. Next, guys, inhale, reach your arms high. We're going to extend our legs to a V and take a gentle twist. So as I'm folding, I'm getting a stretch in my hamstrings, and if she's leaning back on me, she's broadening across her chest, getting a nice heart attack. Try your best to soften the upper body as much as you can. How you feeling, Yazzie? She feels good. Let's take another deep breath in. Breath out. And we're going to switch sides. Inhale, reach the arms high. Ready for me, guys? Exhale, fold. So I'm not going to put so much weight on her because I'm a lot bigger than her. So be mindful. I'm going to notice her breath. If at any point her breath feels restricted, I'm going to soften a little bit more, right? You feeling okay? Yeah. Breathing? All right. Let's take another deep breath in. Breath out. Let's inhale, come back to center. We're going to face each other now. All right. So remember, we're going to extend this leg. Yep, you got it. So press against my knee. Grab my hands. You want to go first? You want me to go first? All right, I'm going first. So we're going to breathe. Inhale. And then exhale, reach back. Go back. So here I'm not only feeling it in my hamstrings, but I'm feeling it in my right groin, right? So I'm trying to soften my body as much as I can, release my shoulders, and really utilize my exhale to find as much softness in my physical body as I can. Inhale. And then exhale. Now, yes, you're gonna fold. Relax your shoulders, yes. Good. Breathe. Take another deep breath in. Breath out. You're gonna switch sides. So you extend your other leg. Good breath in. I'm gonna go first. And then fold. Okay. I'm softening my elbows. I'm softening my shoulders. Good. So you're gonna continue to press into my knee to open the groin even more. I'll take another deep breath in. Breath out. Inhale, back to center. Exhale. I'll take a gentle pull for Yazi. So relax your elbows, relax your shoulders. Take a deep breath in. Breath out. All right, go back to center. Shake the legs out a little bit. And I'm gonna have Yazi turn around. We're gonna do some more heart opening, right? So remember, you're gonna lift up. And I'm gonna lean back, slow, nice and slow. And then give me your hands. So I'm just doing a kind of like a supported fish pose with her, right? Just broadening across the chest, maybe pressing down into the shoulders. How's that feel? Good. Deep inhales. Deep exhales. So one more deep breath in. Breath out. All right, gentle. I'm not going to do the same thing with her because I'm a little bit heavier. So what I am going to do is stand up and have Yazi find child's pose. So you can stay seated, Yazi. Find child's pose for me. Grab my ankles. And this is just nice to lengthen the spine here. So widen your knees some more. Good. Take a deep breath in. Breath out. So I'm going to continue to walk back, continue to hold my ankles. Good. Breathe. So I'm getting a nice hamstring stretch. She's getting a nice spinal stretch. Deep inhale. Complete exhale. Another deep breath in. Breath out. All right. Come back to center. How you feel? All right. So let's go back to back. You're on your knees. You're just going to put your hands to your lower back and push your hips forward. Good. And maybe you'll lock elbows. So come a little bit closer and breathe. Good. And if they're a little smaller than you, maybe you won't lock elbows. So usually this is better for people that are your size. So hands to your hips, just press your hips forward, eyes up, broaden across your chest. So this is a serious heart opener here. So you might experience some release. Whatever needs to come up, allow it. Be open. Breathe. Take 3 more breaths. So you squeeze your elbows together to broaden across your chest. Another deep breath in. Breath out. All right, let's come back to center and release. Make your way to seated. Place your right hand at your heart, left hand at your womb. Close your eyes for your breath rise and fall. Let's take this opportunity to give thanks to all the mothers, all the ancestors, all the mothers who continue to fight, sacrifice, and nourish our spirits, our minds, our bodies. May we continue to create safe space for one another, to be fully expressive, and to step into our boundless potential. We'll place our hands at heart in prayer. Thumb knuckles to the mind's eye. Take a unified breath in to seal our time together. And a complete exhale to bow in gratitude. The teacher enlightened me honors the teacher, light, and mother, and all of you. Namaste. Namaste, y'all. All right. Thank you all for joining us. If you have any questions, my name is Sinu. You can find my information at yogasinu.com.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Bless. That was so
Yes.
good.
Thank you, Sam. I really appreciate particularly the connection at the end and the beginning that, people ask, how are you able to do so much? How are you able to keep going? How are you able to do all of the things? And part of the reason is we're not alone. I know I'm not alone. I have my ancestors at my back, at my shoulders. I have my sister mamas and sibling mamas and families at my side. And so I know that's definitely a part of that. And I just appreciate calling those folks and our ancestors and all those that are doing the work of mothering, whether you birth a child, you're nurturing a child, your auntie, all of those things. So I want to welcome Lena K. Gardner into our space. Lena, welcome. Lena is the executive director of Blue, Black Lives Unitarian Universalist. And Lena is also leading on the ground and in lots of different spaces, but particularly in the city of Minneapolis, who so many of us have had our eyes on and our hearts. And so Lena also recently became a mama to a beautiful little one. So Lena, welcome. Thank you for being here. If you want to just introduce yourself, and also I would just love to hear a little bit how you're feeling on this Juneteenth, this Jubilee Day.
Thank you, Angela, and thank you for the invitation to be here. I think, it's how am I feeling? That is a lot of emotions these days. So I live in Minneapolis. I live about a mile away from where George Floyd was murdered, and I live about a half mile away from where the uprising started. And I have a 6-month-old daughter. What I was actually looking for was a picture because I don't think you can see it. Because Paige, my comrade and friends, just came to take her so that I could be here with you all. But yeah, she is 6 months old and she's amazing and the absolute light of my life. And this was this uprising and the response to the murder of George Floyd was the first sort of real, I don't want to call it a clash because it doesn't feel like a conflict, but it feels like tension between being a mother and feeling a call to be in movement spaces, and how those are incompatible much of the time, especially when you are parenting a 6-month-old or a very small baby. So for us, we actually got smoked out of our apartment when the uprising happened. I was planning on staying in the neighborhood and doing what I could. But when we woke up after the second night, when he was coughing, I was coughing. And, when your 6-month-old baby is coughing, it's just like, no, okay, I have to keep you safe. So I went to stay with friends in another part of the city. But it was a pull. I felt a tension between my number one priority is so clear to keep this little human safe and secure. And, and then my people are calling me to the streets and justice is calling me to the streets. So how do I answer? And I kind of just solved it in a couple of ways, which was one, just allowing myself to feel the complex set of emotions that come with that. And also reaching out for help. Like Angela, you mentioned earlier how important help is. I was texting and FaceTiming with Leslie and other people in the movement being like, this is really tough. And she reminded me of how many people in the movement love Winnie and want to see her thriving, and that my role right now really can be to protect and love and nourish this tiny, sweet human who's so vulnerable right now, and that can be enough, and more than enough. That can be beautiful and glorious. And I think the humdrum routine of motherhood is not something we lift up and celebrate a lot in the movement spaces. It's not sexy, like getting interviews on CNN or different things like that. You are constantly covered in spit up and poop and all of these things, and you're cleaning and you're
fluids at large.
But it's also super rewarding and super lovely. And so so I did finally say, okay, what else can I do if I'm feeling like I really want to and still keep Winnie safe? So when I got a text from a friend of mine who said, hey, do you want to recall Mike Freeman, who is the current Hennepin County attorney? Many people saw him get up there and say, we're not going to charge, the murderer. And it was just, and he has a history of protecting white killer cops. When it came down to it, though, when a black cop had killed this rich white woman in a rich part of the city, he put him away for 12 years. So it's so racialized with this particular Hennepin County attorney that we were like, yeah, I said, I absolutely have energy to come after him, and so I'm literally like putting Winnie to sleep and then like texting, and like getting all of that. And, we're doing well. I mean, we need 122,000 signatures to recall him, and we have 10,000 so far. So we're bumping along. And then some folks don't know, now that the spotlight is off of Minneapolis a little bit, that there were unsheltered folks that were really affected by the uprising. Their cars were burned that they were living out of. All of the shelters are closed because of COVID. And so there have been different solutions that the city, the county, and the state tried to come up with. One of them was housing folks at a Sheraton hotel. However, the owner decided that wasn't a good option for him anymore. So he cut off access for everyone. And now there are about 200 tents in the park. I live on one of the biggest parks in Minneapolis. And it's a tent city. It's an encampment. And all of the stuff that comes with that. It's a new level of trying to keep Winnie safe. Somebody was carjacked at gunpoint right outside my window. And, I want to be clear and say we don't know if that was folks from the encampment or if it was people, sort of bad actors, coming to take advantage of the sort of very chaotic situation. We don't know who did it. The reality is, though, that it's made our neighborhood much more unsafe. And so now I'm still we used to go for walks every morning, and now I'm just like, oh, maybe I'll walk with a partner, walk with a friend, and try to figure those things out. So yeah, I think the ongoing crisis here, just, and some people think it's caused by the uprising, but I would just say what the uprising did in some ways was reveal and just sort of draw back the thin sort of veil of nicety that we had here, that organizers have been trying to pull back for a long time, right? These issues with unhoused folks who are largely Black and Indigenous, the affordable housing, all of these things. And so when we think about, also having some of the highest rates of Black maternal death outcomes here and Black maternal health disparities here, all of these issues are kind of coming to the forefront now. So really just thinking, how do we continue to do this? I am pulling myself off of maternity leave, coming back to work in 2 weeks because of because of what's happening, to try to help with the housing situation. Because BLUE, the Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism, we actually have, before I went on maternity leave, we bought up 9 lots in one of the Black parts of town. And the idea is to make housing cooperatives on those and to build that up. But we need to raise a lot of capital to do that. And this current crisis in our city just underscores how desperate we are for actually affordable housing. What they call affordable housing now is not. So, yeah, so that's a long, rambly way of saying there's so much work to be done, and mothering through it is so intense and powerful. And like I said, I'm just going to be coming back into it in about 2 weeks. I'm actually kind of already back in it.
It's like, I have a feeling that.
I really appreciate you, Lena, lifting up the ways that both talking about complexity and some of the choices that you had to make, and also just being real about the clarity, right? Like, actually, this is where I have to, even if those feelings are real, those feelings are challenging. Kira and I were talking about having some of those same challenges, and thinking about, negotiating that you might have to do with your partner or your family, and thinking about your support system in order to show up in this moment. But I also really appreciate you lifting up the different ways that you have been able to show up, or you have been able to kind of chime in. And Kira, I'm interested if both of you, either of you, want to kind of chime in on this question, but what are the ways that you think others or people that are caregivers that have responsibilities at home, that have responsibilities to take care and maybe can't risk getting arrested and having to stay overnight in jail, or can't risk being, affected by tear gas or anything like that? What are some of the ways that you see or you would recommend mothers or parents or caregivers to show up and support this? How they can support the movement?
Well, Angela, you and I had talked about this, and I think Leslie also talked about this a bit, right? That a lot of folks felt like donating felt sort of distant or cold. But the reality is like donating is a direct action. Like, you're taking action. If you're donating to a legitimate organization that needs your support and that will use those resources to directly protect protesters, you're doing a direct action, and we need that support, and we need you to keep doing that. One of the things I suggested in a conversation I was having with a group of moms last weekend was, get your children involved in making, medical kits. Get them involved in making snack kits. Get them, if you're a person who buys things in bulk, or you're feeling inspired to do that now because of what you see happening in your communities and happening across the country and across the world, get a bunch of, plastic disposable bags, get, prepackaged snacks, right? Obviously, we're in a pandemic, nothing that is like handmade or baked or that you wrapped individually, but things that are prepackaged, and you can drop them off, a supplies drop for an organization that's organizing a protest. That's a really helpful and impactful way to directly help and support people on the ground. But still protecting your babies and still maybe protecting, maybe your peace in your home. But for those of us who are organizers and who kind of do this all the time, I think it's a little bit harder, as for all the reasons that Lena very clearly and beautifully just spelled out, right? Which is that we are constantly doing this dance. Okay, I'm a mom. There is a pandemic, and COVID is spreading and is running the most rampant in jails and prisons. So we really cannot afford to spend any time in jail. And so how can we, knowing how the state has reacted to the uprisings, knowing how the state has reacted, look at that baby, that baby. See, this is exactly what we do. We're working, we're sharing about how we mother in the movement, and the baby shows up. Yes. But I'll just finish the point to say, this is exactly, right, the dance we have to do and the struggle that we're all working through every day, which is like giving advice, sending money, showing up. But no, I need to make sure that my child can be healthy and thrive and has what she needs.
And I think I'll just add, I know we're short on time. I did want folks to get a chance to see my Pride and Joy Winnipeg.
Thank you for that. What a gift.
And Paige came over to help me. And I just want to say the other piece that I had to settle in my heart is doing your own healing work. I think we don't talk a lot in the movement, or at least spaces I've been in haven't talked a lot about how much emotional work being a parent is. But it's also, and I should say, and it's a deep opportunity to do some healing work, like between, you know, so many of us, I think, have complicated relationships with their own mothers or their own parents or caregivers, and how to really value that embarking on a journey of parenthood is also can be an opportunity to heal some of those wounds. And when we do that, we are creating, you know, we are healing seven generations back. We are healing wounds from enslavement, wounds from colonization, wounds from capitalism. And those tangibles are so much more difficult to see, but they come in the form of, you know, a securely attached baby. They come in the form of kids who are more emotionally grounded than maybe we were. And doing that work, I have felt like already has allowed me to sort of take these baby steps back into movement spaces in a more grounded way, in a way that is very different than what I've seen. So I'll stop there. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Nina. We love you, Winnie. Love to see you. Very what? Hello. We could do this for hours. Thank you so much, Lena. Really we appreciate you. Sending you lots of love. Please continue to hold it down.
Yes.
And
let us know how we can support you. Yeah.
Kira, I really wanted to just lift up a point that you made about like bringing resources and snacks and food. The other thing that we have to remember is that there are folks that there's still a lot of food insecurity, financial insecurity. People that are showing up to protest are also in need of food. I want to lift up Toyin, the young woman who was killed in Tallahassee earlier this week, who was an activist, who was at these protests, but also after the protest was experiencing didn't have stable housing, didn't have the resources that she needed, and that's kind of how we lost her. And so just that is even just caring for folks that are taking action is such a need, and there are lots of ways to do that. So I want to pass it over to Kira to introduce our next guest.
Yes. So this is we have said, and our co-organizer Aisha has said, it's like our new favorite Instagram page. But Woke Kindergarten, for those of you who are following, we have the creator Key with us here, and they are going to give your babies a lesson directly about protest and about all the things that we're talking about and why it's so important. There they are. Hi, Key.
Hi, everybody.
Please take it away.
I'm going to share my screen. Okay. All right. Can everybody see this? I hope. Let me. All right, I'm hoping everybody can see. Hold on, let me see. Let me try again. All right. Can everybody see if I do this? Okay. I'm trying to find the presentation. All right. Okay, cool. So if I stay on this side, my name is Key, and I run Woke Kindergarten. Woke Kindergarten is not a school. It is just a way of unlearning and affirming ourselves in our unlearning and our learning. And so today I'm going to talk to you about protest, and then I'm going to talk to you about Juneteenth. Okay? So protest is a form of resistance. And at Woke Kindergarten, we do something called Woke Word of the Day. Many of you have seen this, many of you probably haven't. And so our first woke word of the day was the word protest. And that means to show that you disagree with something by speaking up or taking action. Okay? Many protests are peaceful gatherings of people who are tired of injustice. Injustice is when something is unfair. People who protest are called protesters. Protesters are brave. We are protesting because Black people keep getting hurt and killed by the police. Protests are a way to say that something is wrong and that things need to change. Protests are also a way to speak up for people who can no longer speak for themselves. Sometimes protests become violent because police bring weapons that hurt and scare protesters. Sometimes they even arrest them. Without protests, people might not listen and unfair things might not change. As a kid, you can protest too. Many kids make signs that say how they feel. And other kids use their voices to protest. They speak up for what they deserve. Your joy, and that means your happiness and however you find it, is a form of resistance. It is a form of protest. And Juneteenth is a way that we celebrate our joy as Black people because resistance is freedom. So I wrote a poem for you, specifically for you, about Juneteenth. And you might not understand all of the words that you hear, so I'm going to ask you to do two things before we start. Juneteenth, first of all, is a celebration of freedom. And the first thing I want you to do as you're listening to this poem is to visualize. Can you say visualize? When you visualize, it means that you make a picture in your head of the words that I might be saying. And the words that I'm saying are going to be telling different stories within this poem. So do me a favor and make sure that you visualize lots of the things that you hear. The second thing is, if you hear, and you probably will, words that you haven't heard before, and they might be big words, make sure you ask your families to explain them to you after. And you can tell your families to email me because I'm going to have vocabulary that goes along with this lesson. And because you all have tuned in, I'm going to be able to share that with you. Okay? So visualize, make those pictures in your heads, and remember these big words so that you can ask your families after. Okay? This poem is called Dear Little Ancestor. Our ancestors are people that maybe have passed on, right? That were related to us. Sometimes they're not related to us. We also have living ancestors as well. These are people that teach us a lot about who we are, about the world, about what we need to do to resist, right? So this poem is called Dear Little Ancestor. And remember, it's for you. Don't forget, it's for you. Happy Juneteenth, happy Jubilee. Happy emancipation for my ancestors free. We dance, rejoice, remember our pasts, and shout, because they didn't, that enslavement has passed. We make up our plates and sing in celebration of resistance who fought to seek our liberation. Pass round the red drink, sweet smell of hibiscus, barbecue smoke rise, watermelon delicious. We take juicy bite, music moves our limbs, we rejoice and release mouth's ancestral hymns. Juneteenth as remembrance, recommittal, reflection, that we are our joy, liberation, protection. Our spirits in this life, both elder and young, know freedom as joy and still far from one. So keep moving, little friend. Love your Blackness, yourselves. Find your joy in resistance. Let your laughter rebel. Know your history and acquire all the ways we have thrived and honor truth and revolts that made 1865. Happy Juneteenth, joyful Jubilee, happy commitment to liberation, little ancestors free. Now, part of why we celebrate Juneteenth is to remember, and the other part is to think about how we're going to commit ourselves to our freedom and our joy. So what does freedom feel like for you? In your bodies, in your lives, in your learning, in your relationships with people, maybe your mom, your siblings, right? Your friends. What does freedom feel like to you? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it taste like? I want you to think about all those things as you're with your families at home. Think about all of those things. And then think about what brings you joy. What are the things that you love to do in your life, with your friends, with your families, with yourself, if you have pets, with your pets. I have pets, and so a lot of things that I do with my pets bring me joy. Think about that as you celebrate today on Juneteenth. And remember that Juneteenth isn't just June 19th. It's every day that you live and breathe and feel and laugh and love and find your joy. Remember, your joy is a form of resistance, just like protest. And every day you find your joy, you are the resistance. So I hope that you all enjoyed my little Woke Kindergarten presentation on protest, our woke word of the day. I really hope that you enjoyed this Juneteenth poem that I wrote in the wee hours of the morning, inspired to write for you, little babies. I know some of you aren't babies, but I say that as a form of love. And so if you are interested in Woke Kindergarten, please follow us at Instagram, Woke Kindergarten. And if you're interested in having access to these resources very specifically for you, I make all my stuff free for Black folks. You just have to hit me up. You can email wakeup@wokekindergarten.org. Today, I am going to be releasing some type of fundraising strategy, maybe GoFundMe, maybe Patreon. And I really want y'all to understand that everything that I put out into the world, it doesn't belong to me. It's for us. It's for you. It's for the kids. I want you to keep that in mind. And make sure you email me, wakeup@wokekindergarten.org, so that we can stay connected. And I mentioned the fundraising only because when I launched the Patreon, and it's going to be very liberatory Patreon, I'm launching a virtual classroom with Class Dojo. And so I want to give y'all first access to that. Of course, it will be accessible to anybody, but I want to give you first access to that. So make sure you email me so we can stay connected. And thank you to Black Women for Black Mamas March. Happy Juneteenth, y'all. Keep resisting. All power to the little people.
Thank you so much. Please go to Key's Instagram page, support them, support the Patreon as it comes up. Really, really need to I love getting this content out there for all of our family and our kids. Now, I am joined by some of my favorite mamas. Miss Mary Hooks, we can't see your face, but I can see Judith Brown Dennis from the Advancement Project. Hi, Judith.
Hey.
And I can see my dear Anoa Changa from Black Women 4, also a writer with Our Prism and many, many other things.
Hello.
I'm Mary Hooks. Hopefully we'll be able to see Mary's face shortly. But Mary is the director at Southerners on New Ground, and is a huge inspiration to me. She is the author of The Mandate for Black People in Time. There she is. Hello, beautiful. Mary, thank you for being here. So,
hey, comrades. Hey, comrades. Hello. I mean, this hat is everything, Mary.
That hat is definitely, look. Mary said, "Oh, it's Jubilee Day."
We gotta make the movement irresistible.
That's what I love. Absolutely. So I'm going to ask a question. And as you all respond, I would love if you all can just introduce yourselves a little bit so the folks that are watching know who you are and the kind of work that you do. But this portion of the conversation is really just to touch on some of what we're fighting for, right? We've seen calls to invest in our communities. We've seen calls to defund the police. We've seen calls to particularly get police out of schools. And a lot of that work has been going on for many, many years, but we're seeing all of that movement really come to fruition and manifest a lot of change rapidly right now. And so I want to just give you all a chance to and maybe Judith, if you want to start, to just share a little bit about what you're fighting for, both as a mama in the movement, but also someone that has been leading work on getting police out of schools.
Sure, thank you. And it's good to be here with you all. And Mary, it's so good to see your face. So my name is Judith Brown Dianis, and I'm Executive Director of the National Office of Advancement Project. And we're a national racial justice organization that supports grassroots movements of people of color building power in their communities to dismantle structural racism. For 20 years, we've been open for 20 years, and for 20 years, we have been really kind of building out and supporting the movement to end the school to prison pipeline. I'm a lawyer by training, but an organizer by heart. And so this work has really been grounded in the struggles of Black youth across the country who have been saying no to suspensions, number one, because we know that they push people out and put them into actually directly into the prison system. And then over the past few years, we, with the Alliance for Educational Justice, have been building out and supporting this network of youth organizations across the country who have been calling for police-free schools. And when we say police-free schools, we really mean schools without police. I'm a mother. I'm a mother. I have a daughter who just graduated from school in Prince George's County, Maryland. I have seen the way in which police show their aggression in the schools. We have a website that you can check out that's www.wecametolearn.com that documents the history of police in the schools, which was in reaction to youth resistance movements, and the way in which excessive use of force is happening in our schools, such that young people, look, if you can't trust the cops in your neighborhood, you should not be trusting them in the hallways of the schools. And so we've had Minneapolis, Charlottesville, Portland, Milwaukee just yesterday, Rochester, New York, Denver. Denver took 20 years. We've been supporting them. All Columbus, Ohio, police-free schools right now. So this is as much as people say it's a moment, not a movement. No, this movement's been going on for a long time, and we're winning. And we hope DC next week, there's gonna, turn up in DC. We need people to call your city council person to say police-free schools, end that contract, and wherever you are, police shouldn't be around our children because they undermine the learning environment.
Yes, absolutely. And Noah, I'm wondering if you want to share, as I know you have two teenage, adult age-ish children. And I'm curious, I've heard you kind of talk about your experience, both navigating and dealing with the presence of police, not just in schools, but in your children's life and those interactions. How you balance, keeping them safe when or trying to keep them safe when they do interact with the police, when they do have to have these conversations, with also lifting up and supporting their values of really wanting to resist and knowing how unjust kind of that treatment is.
And it's harder with the boy than it is with the girl. But like Judith, lawyer, recovering lawyer, former lawyer, no longer practicing. But I remember one of the first times Max got in trouble in middle school, he wouldn't tell them anything. And so when they called me and they were like, we were asking questions and he wouldn't answer us until you got here. I said, because you're a cop.
Yes.
And anything he says to you all right now can be used in a proceeding against him. And his mama's a lawyer. He knows better. And these conversations about school discipline in particular were really jarring to me. I never really noticed as much. I understood, academically about school to prison pipeline and all these different issues, but it wasn't until my younger of my two kids started getting in trouble in school and I really had to start looking at what was going on with the discipline policy and how was it being administered at school that I really saw very clearly how we were modeling criminal, procedure in our schools, right? And it's not even just we're just modeling it in the school form, but we're using actual criminal legal terminology that then, because we already have, they're skipping a step because they already have the cops in the schools, they can just go and report it downtown. And here in Atlanta, we came into APS right after APS commissioned their own police force. So APS has their own police not just like they ended their contract with the Atlanta Police Department and then started their own police. So their police then communicate with APS when they feel like, when they make a decision to feel like it arises. You know, I often wonder that my son's experience with school and its suspensions and expulsions has been lessened some just because of my personal background and the fact that his dad would also be present with us at meetings and stuff, right? Like I think about how many kids do not have parents who can advocate for them and stand in the gap. Or if you're in certain schools, because some schools you may have wraparound supports attached because of the neighborhood a school is in. But when you're in one of the quote unquote good schools, those same services are not offered or denied, or they're denied in a very weird, it's a very weird way that we exist in the school area where he's been at. And so I just think about like how he wants to show up now, right? Like when the uprisings first started, he was like itching to get out there. He's like, I gotta go. Why you not letting me go? One, mom is high risk for COVID, so I need you to stay in the house. But we recently finally went out to a rally, he and I, and his face and wanting to be present and finding like what he can do and how he can fit in and learning about the opportunities and possibilities that exist like in all of these spaces and how his voice does actually matter. And even just navigating things with teachers. You know, we've had teachers sit and tell him, I had a white teacher tell him in 8th grade, she was upset because he hurt her feelings because he didn't seem happy to be in her class. And I just looked at her and she said something else. I said, okay, can I speak to him now? And so when she left the room, I said, so I see why you don't like her. This is what we're going to do and how we're going to figure out. So helping them, it's really difficult helping them find strategies to navigate these systems without damaging their soul and also taking their joy. Because both of my children, and I mean, all of our children, right, have so much joy and opportunity and potential. But unfortunately, oftentimes Black children in particular get their innocence and joy stolen from them at such a young age. And I really do feel like for all of us as community, as mamas, as aunties, because we need y'all too, aunties, to help make sure they have those opportunities and moments for joy as much as possible and showing them entry points. Like I love pointing out other youth organizers to him. So that if you decide that you want to be an organizer, dude, there are other people paving the way in front of you.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you. And I really feel you on that balance to strike. Like we want to raise, you know, free, liberated kiddos. And also they still exist in a pretty oppressive system. And so it's a balance. Mary, I know there are a lot of moms that are listening that are still trying to understand this notion of defunding the police and what that might be. I wonder, or what the other side of that could look like. And I know that you've been talking about this and doing this work for many, many, many years. I wonder if you could just share, we lost Mary. But I wonder if I was going to ask Mary and Noah and Judith, please chime in. When you hear parents or when you're talking to families that are unsure about what the idea of defunding the police, I think a lot of folks can understand police out of schools. Okay, yeah, we're here to learn, as you said, Judith, but we're thinking about on a broader point for our communities. What are some of the things that you find that are meaningful for parents that are still trying to land and understand this idea of defunding the police?
So I'll start. So I think it's important to think about all the times in which, she's back. Let's go to her.
Mary.
I'm back, Chris.
I'm happy to see you,
You're back.
The question I was asking of you and is there are so many parents that are still trying to wrap their mind around this notion of defunding the police. The idea that getting police out of our schools might make sense for folks, but the defund piece is a little bit of a broader step. What are some of the things that you have been able to say that you find are meaningful for parents or for mamas that are trying to kind of wrap their mind around that notion?
Yeah, I think, and thank you so much for having me and all of my technical difficulties, y'all.
We love you, Mary.
I love y'all so much. Good to see all the comrades on here and everybody who's listening, watching. I think it's important for us to tap into our memory. One, like y'all remember when we didn't send our kids to white schools? There was no police in our schools. Our children learned our history. Our children got culturally competent curriculum and that they were able to be mentored and taken care of by people in community. And so I think when we remind ourselves of the traditions and the legacies and the ways in which we have educated our children inside of our own institutions, that gives us a sense of what we want those environments to look like and to feel like. And then when we compare it to what we have now, we have over militarized schools. The GI Joes are situated all inside of the schools. And if we're saying that we need to move closer to an atmosphere that is conducive to a positive and healthy learning environment, so you know what I mean, like a Noah's son can come in and actually like feel alive in the classroom, it ain't gonna happen if we got the fuzz in there. It ain't gonna happen like that. So we can be defunding the police, taking money from their budget. I saw a number that the Atlanta police, just the school alone, it's like $200 million. My numbers could be wrong, but I know this Noah got all of that. And I'm like, what could they do with that money if they hired, if they didn't fire many of these Black teachers, if they brought in mental health counselors and more art and enriching programs that's culturally competent. So when we're talking about defunding the police, yes, we know where the resources need to be coming from and snatched from, but we're also talking about what it is we're trying to build for our children, you know, and that's what it's about, defending Black life. As BYB Wonder says, funding Black futures. That is what the demand and call is for. And so you can look at the budgets and see, as someone has said before, a budget is a moral document.
That's right.
And it shows that based on the budgets that we see, particularly around schooling and where kids go to, they want our kids to go to jail. We know that the third grade test scores are what they do to project, prisons and how much they need to build out. And so if we have a mandate, in which we do, to change and turn the world right side up again, it also has to start in terms of the institutions that all of our lives are being impacted by. And in this specific conversation, obviously we're talking about the schools, but we know, again, the police are all up in there, but it don't have to be like that. And it hasn't always been like that. And it's going to take time. I think people oftentimes think that we're saying, take the money, zero out the budget tomorrow. We were looking for a just transition into a new world and into a new culture and society that we operate and move differently with each other. And that is going to be in phases. But we should be seeing a decrease of the police budget year by year by year as we continue to grow and pour into our communities, our schools, our lives, and the things that is going to bring wellness and wholeness to our people. What you water grows. Yeah. We need to be watering our communities in a way that's going to grow life, that's going to grow Black joy, that's going to grow healthy, rich, rich in their mind, good value. You know what I mean? And the way this stuff's set up, it ain't happening now.
And that's exactly, I just, what you water grows. And right now, all of our budgets on the local, on the city, on the county, on the state, on the federal level, we're watering violence. We're watering prisons. We're watering incarceration in cages and disappearing our family members. That's what we're watering. And so no wonder the outcomes are what we're seeing. And so I want to keep having this conversation, but unfortunately we're at time. I want to thank you, Judith, Anoa, and Mary. For those of you who don't know, these women are my heroes. These are the folks that are on the strategy lines and the front lines, really, really moving this work forward. Please get connected with the Advancement Project, Southerners on New Ground, and you can find Anoa's writing at The Way with Anoa, right?
It's the podcast is The Way with Anoa, and the website is ourprism.org.
And we will have this information available on our accounts, on our social media accounts, for you all to follow up towards the end of this. Thank you all so much for everything that you do. Please, I see y'all. I know everybody's got 11 things to do today. Take care of yourself today, all right? Yes. Be in joy, be in celebration, because this is a day of resistance, but it's also a day of jubilee. So I want to encourage you all to take care of yourselves. I love each of you very much. And Leslie, if you could bring back Kiera for us to wrap up.
Thanks, Angela.
Thank you all so much. Hello. As we're wrapping up, I wanted to say thank you to everyone who to come to join us in DC at the march and who made the pivot to the virtual space, because we know mama just got to make it work, right? But we are going together in person next week next Saturday at the Archives Navy, the Navy Memorial by Archives Navy Metro. We'll do that at 11 a.m. on Saturday, June 27th in DC. So if you're in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, even if you're a little bit outside of that and you have some time and some energy and you want to bring your family, please come out with us. We're going to be marching. We're going to be rallying. And if you and there's also, for folks who aren't in the area, you can follow Black Mamas March on Instagram, and that is a great way to stay connected. This is a movement, like all movements, that is growing and it is emergent. And if you want to get down, we want you to be down.
Absolutely.
I want to thank all of our guests, Lena K. Gardner. And I want to thank Sinu, who did a beautiful, with her little one, a beautiful yoga and grounding. You can stay connected to Sinu at yogasinu.com. We don't need to go through all the W's, but you can stay connected with yogasinu.com. And then you can also stay connected to, I want to thank Key for giving us a really amazing lesson. I can't wait for the next lesson. I'm gonna be signing up. Me and Noir, my little girl, are gonna be listening to all of the woke words of the day. And so support Key at Woke Kindergarten, and also stay connected to Mary and Judith and Anoa and their work. And really, I think that I want to just leave you all, and Kira, I'll pass it to you for a wrap up as well. But I just want to leave you all with the notion that there is a role for everyone to play. Yeah. There's a space for everybody in this movement, and it's not over. It's literally, we are at a beginning. We really, really are. And we have the momentum to fight and to live and to be in the world that we deserve for our little ones. And so the time is now. Kira, do you want to say anything else to wrap us up?
Yeah, just the point is that we want to bring more Black mamas and Black families into the movement, knowing, like Angela said, there's a space for you. There's a role for you. You have a part to play. Everyone does. It's not going to be the same for everyone. Everyone will have a lane, but we want to create space for you to feel comfortable to do that. If you're, kind of like, what is this? What's going on? This is new to me. We welcome you with open arms. Do we want to chant out? Do we want to get a little protest energy going?
Yeah, I think we could do that. Yeah, let's bring in a chant that was written by my dear loved one Janae Taylor, and made very popular by the BYP 100. Shout out to the squad, everybody in the streets this weekend. This is I Love Being Black. We're gonna play it, and then Kiara and I are gonna do it together.
Yes. I said I love being black. 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 I love the color of my skin. I love the color of my skin. This is the skin that I'm in. This is the skin that I'm in. Said I love being black. I 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 love the texture of my hair. And I rock it everywhere.
Hey.
Yes.
That was from the I Love Being Black, and that you can find that on all of your streaming sites. Black Joy Experience. So you want to do a little call and response, Kira?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, here we go. I said I love being black.
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 I love the color of my skin.
I love the color of my skin.
It's the skin that I'm in.
It's the skin that I'm in.
I said I love being black.
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 I love the texture of my hair.
I love the texture of my hair.
And I rock it everywhere.
And I rock it everywhere.
Hey.
Thank y'all so much for joining us. We're going to have to do that next week.
if you're in DC, come out and see us next weekend. It's going to be even more fun than this was. Love you all so much. Thank you for being here. We're going to close out with a beautiful poem and a video by Lena K. Garner, and a video that was put together by our Leslie Mack, our tech support, our everything. Shout out to Leslie Mack for really helping us bring this moment to life. And yes, please stay in touch, stay safe, take care of y'all. Black love, Black joy. We'll be in touch.
People and kind heart. This dismantling, this undoing is also a birth.
This new way, like my new daughter, needs our nurturing love and support. Every moment
Every moment
of every day and night.
Like my daughter, she'll be able to hold her head up in no time if we do it for her first, for a while.
For a while.
She is so new and fragile and beautiful.
She's full of possibilities.
Possibility.
Mostly she is overflowing with love for everyone she sees.
There is no predetermined path, except we know that from which we came and where we must not venture back.
Where we must not venture back.
There is no linear path. We didn't get to where we are in a straight line. We won't get to where we want to be marching from point A to point B.
There's listening with an open heart to the people. Before your mind is suffocated by fear and crashed by scarcity, remember that there was a time before police.
If we are no longer slaves, we no longer need slave makers. I mean catchers. I mean,
if you are feeling scared and unsure, it's okay. I am too.
I am too.
I also feel like I can breathe a little easier.
we are going into the unknown, but trust me, it's better here. We know the other way and where it leads.
Let's build and nurture together.
Let's build and nurture together.
Let's build and nurture together.
We can do hard things. It'll be easier than another goodbye.
It'll be easier than more Black blood on our hands.
Another world is possible. Another world is possible. Another world is possible.